Welcome to the first module of CS 618 course. This module studies the bit vector data flow frameworks. These are the frameworks with which the field of data flow analysis originated. These are the simplest data flow frameworks, simplest examples of data flow analysis. In particular, in this module, we will study live variables analysis, available expressions analysis, anticipable expressions analysis, reaching definitions analysis, and then we will study the common features of bit vector frameworks. These four analyses are classical analyses and are a part of any course on data flow analysis. So we begin by talking about live variables analysis. Live variables analysis tries to discover variables at a program point that are live, where the definition of liveness is as follows. A variable v is live at a program point p if some path from p to program exit contains an r value occurrence of v which is not preceded by an l value occurrence of v. There are several words in this definition that we need to ponder over. First of all, we say a variable v is live at a program point p, meaning this is a property that is specific to a program point, specific to a position in the execution of the program. At a different program point, the variable may or may not be live. So this is a point specific property, or it's also known as a flow sensitive property, a property that depends on the control flow, and hence it could be different at different program points. That's the first point. That's the first point that we need to understand. The second point says that if some path from P to program exit, there could be multiple paths from P to program exit. For example, here we have this P, this program point here, and there are three paths going from this program point to program to the end of the program. So we are talking about a particular program point P, and from there, because there could be multiple paths, we are essentially saying it's okay if some path, it doesn't have to be all paths. So it's some path from P, and this path should be from P to program exit. So we are talking about the property of a path from P to program exit. And what is the property of this path? We're saying what is interesting in this path is that it contains an R value occurrence of V which is not preceded by an L value occurrence of V. So what is the meaning of an R value occurrence? An R value occurrence, an R value of a variable is something that reads the value of a variable, appears on the right hand side, and L value of a variable is where the variable appears on the left hand side and is being defined. So if the value of a variable is being read, then it's an R value occurrence of V, and if the value of variable is being written into, being defined, a new value is being assigned to a variable, it's an L value occurrence of V. So to summarize, a variable v is live at a program point P if some path from P to program exit contains a read of a variable which is not preceded by a definition of the variable. What this means is that the current value in the variable is being used later, and therefore it's important for us to preserve that value perhaps in a register. So because this value is useful later, the variable is considered live. So here in this first example, we see that at program point P, variable v is live. Along this path, v is not used. Along this path, v is defined before being used. But along this path, v is used, and this use is not preceded by a definition. So therefore, we say here that v is live at P. In the second example, V is not live at P because this path does not have a use of V. This path does not read the value of V at all. This path defines a value of V. It's not read at all. And this path also defines a value of V. It's not read at all. And therefore, V is not live at this program point P. Third example is an interesting example. The third example says that in this case, V is live at P. Note that here there is a definition as well as a use of V within the same statement. But by the semantics of an assignment statement, the right hand side is read before the value is written in the left hand side variable. This is essential because it's the evaluation of the right hand side that tells us the value, the result that must be written into the left hand side variable. And therefore, this use of V precedes this definition of V, and therefore here we say V is live at this program point. The interesting thing here is that this is a path-based specification. We are essentially talking about the property of a path. We are defining a variable as live in terms of what should happen in some path. As we shall see later, we don't really compute live variables analysis using a path-based specification. So, we now try to define, we now come to how we would like to compute, we want to perform live variables analysis, how we would like to compute the set of variables that are live. So we have already seen in the introductory module that we have basic blocks that are single statements or maximal groups of sequentially executed statements, and the edges between the basic blocks indicate control transfers. These basic blocks form the nodes in a control flow graph. And then we define certain sets associated with each basic block or a node. So this particular node is node K, and with that we associate two sets of variables, gen of K and kill of K. So gen stores the variables that become live as a consequence of the execution of the statements within basic block K. Kill K stores the set of variables that which cease to be live because of the assignments happening within the basic block. In a similar manner, we define gen I, kill I, and we also define gen j and kill j. Having defined these, now we can talk about our data flow properties. If now we have, since we have the local effect of a statement, in order to compute the variables that are live, we need to relate the local effect of the statements across different statements. So these are called local data flow properties. We additionally define what are called global data flow properties, but before we look into that, let's look at the definition of gen. The set gen is defined as follows. A variable v is included in set gen if it is used in the basic block n and is not preceded by a definition of v. Here the word used refers to an R value occurrence. Note that an R value occurrence says that the variable is read, and in a tricky situation this could also happen if the variable appears on the left hand side. So here the occurrence of x is actually an R value occurrence, although it appears on the left hand side. Then when we say definition, we say that it is an L value occurrence. So here in this case, y is the occurrence of y is an L value occurrence. So y is being defined here. Okay, and when we say it is preceded, we say within n. We don't worry about what's happening outside of the basic block, and that's the advantage of creating a control flow graph, because within a basic block we know it's a straight line code, so it's easy for us to study the statements, is easy for us to understand what's happening within the statement, and therefore we restrict our attention to what's happening within the basic block. And across the basic block effect is captured by the global data flow properties, as we shall see in the next slide. But before that, we also have this definition of kill, which says it contains those variables which are defined within the block. A basic block n contains a definition of v anywhere in n. Here it doesn't matter preceded or followed by anything. Having defined gen and kill, now we are ready to define two sets, in and out. The set in stores the variables satisfying the property at the entry of a basic block, and the set out stores the set of variables that satisfy the property at the exit of basic blocks. So in k and out k are also called as data flow variables. So how do we compute these sets? So recall our definition of liveness was that a variable is live if it is used along any path starting from that program point. And therefore, in order to compute the set of variables that are live at the exit of a basic block, all we have to do is to find out the variables that are live at the entry of a successor, and do so for each successor. Once we find out the variables that are live at the entries of the successor, all we have to do is to take a union of all these, and that gives us the set of variables that are live at the exit of a basic block. Having found the variables that are live at the exit, it's easy to find out the variables that are live at the entry, and these are precisely those variables whose liveness is generated within the basic block regardless of what's happening outside of the basic block. So we include the variables that are generated within the basic block, and then from the variables that are live at the exit of the basic block, we remove those variables whose liveness is killed within the basic block, and that gives us the set of variables that are live at the entry of a basic block. Thus, we get our data flow information, our data flow equations that are defined in terms of global data flow properties. Note that these are edge-based specification. Edge-based specification in the sense that out k is defined only in terms of an edge leading to a successor. Here we have two successors, j, I, and then j. We are not defining this in terms of the entire path, under the assumption that the effect of the path is already captured in a recursive definition of in I. So it's an interesting question. Interesting question to ask. Is it the case that always edge-based specifications define the same computation as the path-based specification? And as we shall see later in module 2, that this is not always the case, but as I said, bit vector data flow frameworks are simpler frameworks. So this is something that indeed holds for the bit vector data flow frameworks. So we get our data flow equations. These are the equations, and our variables are in and out, and this is defined for every node n in the control flow graph. Note that this is a system of simultaneous equations, except that this is not a simultaneous equation in integers or real numbers. It's a simultaneous equation in sets. So we have this in and out as sets of variables, and this boundary information bi represents boundary information. So we say at the exit of a basic block n, the variables that are live are the variables that are live at the entry of the union of the variables that are union of the sets of the variables that are live at the entry of the successor nodes. However, when we have the end block of the program or the procedure, end block doesn't have any successor, and therefore we have to define what the set should be at the exit of the end block. And if you're talking about just the local variables, then it's easy to imagine that no local variable is live at the end of the procedure. So therefore BI is empty set for local variables. However, for the global variables, we need to include the variables that are live after a call to the procedure. So in this case, the way we define it is that we say that BI is the set of global variables. I'm sorry with this keyboard playing tricks. So here we have, this is the set of global variables used further in any calling context. So this can be safely approximated by the set of all global variables. Okay, so here is an example of data flow equations. This was the motivating example that we had seen in module 1. So we define our data flow equations. We lay out our data flow equations like this. We say in1 is defined in terms of out1 minus kill1 union gen1. Out2 in turn is defined in terms of into, because out1 is defined in terms of into because one has only one node, 1 has only one successor. The interesting thing is that of equation 2. Observe that we say in2 is defined in terms of out2 minus kill2 union gen2, and out2 is defined as the union of in3 and in4. So we have the union of in3 and in4 defining the out of 2. The interesting thing is the following. We get a cycle here because in2 depends on out2. Out2 in turn depends on in3. In3 in turn depends on out3. And out3 in turn depends on into, and therefore we end up getting a cycle like this. What this means is out3 is defined in terms of in3, which is defined in terms of out3 is defined in terms of into, which is defined in terms of out2, which is defined in terms of in3, which again depends on out3. In other words, out3, the value of out3 depends on itself, and therefore this is a system of simultaneous equations. And solving these equations requires us to take care of these dependencies. What we are going to do is to look at a very simple method of solving these equations. We will first post the gen and kill sets for each basic block. So for example, here we see that y is killed, the liveness of y is killed, and the liveness of x is generated. In this particular basic block, liveness of z is generated, but no liveness is killed because there is no definition. Here the liveness of z is generated because the value of z dot sum is being returned, so z is being read. In this basic block, z dot sum is being written, but z is being read, and x is being read and y is being read. Note that we are only talking about the stack variables. We are not talking about the fields of the stack variables. So therefore we say z is being read. In order to perform this analysis, we now associate certain properties. The interesting observation is that gen and kill need not be mutually exclusive. Here the same variable is read and the same variable is being defined. So the gen and kill set could contain the same variable. Okay, so we begin with a certain initialization. We have to begin with certain guess, certain initial value, and we shall see later why this initial value of empty set is a good choice. For now, let's proceed with the initial value of empty set. The idea is we begin with a conservative estimate, and this estimate is repeatedly refined to get the final solution. So now in this case we say that no variable is live anywhere, and therefore we assign empty set to each in and out, and then we start performing our analysis. When we perform, so we perform an analysis by traversing the control flow graph in this direction, from in the backward direction, from a node to its predecessor nodes. So this is called a backward traversal over the control flow graph, meaning this control flow graph will be traversed before this control flow graph. Similarly, this control flow graph will be traversed after this control flow. This basic block will be traversed before this basic block, and this basic block will be traversed after this basic block. So when we perform this analysis, what we get is here Z is live. So therefore Z is live here, Z is live. So these sets indicate, so this set says this is in of this particular basic block. This set says this is out of this particular basic block. And applying the data flow equations, we find that X is live here and here X is live, because we are going to remove X from the empty set and add this X to it. That because we are going to do in is equal to gen union out minus kill. Note that as a consequence of this, we have certain inconsistency here. This out should include everything that's there in this in, but it does not include right now because this node was visited before this node, and therefore we need to continue refining our values. So if we were to compute our values again in the next traversal, we get these values. So this is the value that we get in iteration 2. The earlier values were the values in iteration 1. In iteration 2, we get these values. Note that there is no change in this part of the program. The only change is here, and that's because of the effect of the loop, because of the self-dependence, because of the cyclic dependence of the data flow values. So this is the result of live variables analysis. The reason why I say this is the result of live variables analysis is that after this, even if we were to traverse this the control flow graph again, we will not get any new result. After this, we will continue to get the same result. Okay, so we could also in the previous control flow graph, we had a basic block containing a single statement, but for bit vector frameworks, as we had seen earlier, we could construct a basic block containing multiple statements. So this is that example where this particular basic block contains all these statements. Note that here it says that the liveness of y and z is killed because there is assignment to y. In fact, there are 2 assignments to y and there is an assignment to z, and the liveness of x is generated because this is the use of x that is not preceded by a definition of x. Note that this use of y is preceded by a definition of y. Similarly, this use of z, although z is red here, it is preceded by a definition of z. What that means is that the current value in z here is really not required. We can jolly well put any garbage value in z. The program is not going to have any problems because that value will be overwritten in by the execution of this particular statement. So a simple litmus test of liveness is that a variable is live if When we put some garbage value in the variable at that program point, a program could change, the behavior of the program could change. By the same token, a variable is not live. We can guarantee that a variable is not live if when we put a garbage value in the variable at a program point, the behavior of the program does not change at all.